Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what to expect from the medical coding career field. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys, so if you are deciding to pursue the medical billing and coding career field, here's some things that you should know. And not the technical stuff, because I talk about that all the time on the channel. But this is more like what you can expect from the industry. I got this comment and I'm going to use it to start off the show. So here we go, and thank you to the viewer who made this comment. I have one question. I know work drama can happen anywhere, but is medical coding cliquey in office, if you know by chance? I'm a dental assistant, and both offices I've worked at have been cliquey and gossipy, and that's something I'm trying to get away from, so hence wanting to work from home. It could be because we're all in our 20s. I don't mind going to the office if it means eventually working from home, but office gossip and cliques burn me out, especially because I'm introverted. That actually has nothing to do with the fact that you're introverted. There's just some people who have a very low tolerance for tomfoolery, and that's really all it is, all it comes down to. And what it all comes down to also is, how are you looking at the situation that you're in when you're at work? Now, if you're taking part in this gossip, then you're part of the problem. If you are removing yourself from the situation entirely, guess what? Your life is a heck of a lot more peaceful. And yes, there's going to be cliques. It doesn't matter if it's just medical coding, or it doesn't matter if you're a dental assistant or any industry, there's always going to be cliques. There will always be cliques. Some places it's just like walking into middle school, not even high school. Sometimes it's just like middle school, right? Any office you go into, you may get that, and it really all depends on how you're looking at it. If you get sucked into like the drama and everything, well then of course you're going to feel all of that stress. But there was a time when I worked in a room full of 20 women, so I can speak from experience, where it's very difficult to work in a room that's that big with that many personalities, and if one woman was having a bad day, everybody knew about it. So but it really all depends on how you're managing yourself, because you can't control them. The only thing that you can control is yourself. Now, when I used to hear that, I would think, what does that mean? Well, it means that if I'm listening to all that drama and gossip, obviously it's going to drain me, because I don't have a big tolerance for that at all. But if I shift my focus on, what else can I focus on other than what this drama and these cliques, what else can I focus on? And for me, my focus turned to my providers, and really focusing my attention on them and working more closely with them. And once I started doing that, that changed everything, because I told myself, I'm not there for them, I'm there for my providers. So whatever happens at work is between those girls and what they're doing in their cliques and all that kind of stuff, and I don't have to worry about that. Why? Because I'm worried about my providers. And again, it goes back to, how are you handling that? And to me, that was so much better, because it was much easier to work with people that are very intelligent. Although when you're working with doctors, yes, they are very intelligent, but sometimes their social skills need a little work, and sometimes they need work with their social skills, because they spent so much of their young adulthood studying and cramming for finals and doing all these things and trying to get through medical school, that they lost out on a lot of that development. And it started all the way in high school. So sometimes you have to kind of like work with them a little bit and kind of get to know their personalities. And so that really does help, but that takes a lot of energy. And that's your energy, that's your time, that's your focus, and getting better, of course, with the coding. And you leave all of that drama and all of that cliquey stuff behind, okay? And so that's just what I do, and that's what's helped me to kind of focus. Because yes, medical billing and coding is mostly women. This is a mostly woman-dominated industry. I have always said that more men should get involved in medical coding, because just like how nursing, it was mostly, back in the day, nursing was all women, and then all of a sudden, more and more men got into nursing. Well, it's the same thing with coding. A lot of women, there should be more men to balance out everything. And I think any industry to propel itself forward needs a good balance, right? I'm just saying. But again, it really all goes back to how you are taking in all of this stress and how you're managing it. If you're focused on it, if you're caught up in it, if you don't show that you can stand up for yourself or stand up for somebody else that's not there in the room, that's the problem. I've had instances, in the past where somebody was talking about somebody else. Now I know that person personally, and I said, well, they're not here. Well, what do you mean, Blue? But so-and-so, okay, no, hold on. They're not here to defend themselves, number one. Number two, I know what you're saying is incorrect. So, we can stop the conversation right here, or we can get them on the phone and get them involved. What are you going to do? And they're like, well, and you would not believe how many gossips I've stopped just doing that. And so I've had other people come up to me and say, oh, Blue, I heard so-and-so say this and this about you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what did you say? Well, nothing, I just listened. So then you're part of the problem. And this is the thing people need to understand. If you are just listening, you are as bad as a person that is doing the gossiping, okay? Now, you don't have to be ugly about it, but you do have to say, well, that person is not here to defend themselves. So there's two sides to a story, and I understand you may be venting, but this is also gossip. So either we can get the person on the phone, or we got to stop, or I got to go, because to me, that's just the way to stop it. And some people are not that brave yet. It is really difficult to be in a situation like that where you're listening to gossip and you're just like, oh my gosh, and you don't have to be guilty of that. You have to think about how you would feel if somebody was saying something about you. Okay. So that goes back to all of that. The other side of it is when people go in and they're very open about themselves and they share all these things about their kids, about their spouse and all these things, and then people start to use it against them. And so that's your own created work drama. So that's the thing. You have to be very careful about what you share in the workplace, because while you may be close with somebody one day, that may not be the case 5 months down the road, right? And so again, some of the drama, the workplace drama, is something that we can manage and mitigate before it even starts, with being very careful about what we share. We live in a society where it's about sharing, right? It is about sharing. It is about, who are we? And we have these personas, through Instagram or even Facebook or YouTube and things like that. You have other YouTubers that's what they do. They vlog and they show their life and things like that. And some of it is for show, and it's not all glittery, So it really all depends on, what they're sharing in the world. And it's the same thing for you. But when you're at work, you have to remember that this is a place that you're going to, of course, work with the doctors and do all these things as a coder or even as the biller. And this is where you're getting your money from. And the industry, while there are thousands of us, the industry is also very small. So you have to keep that in mind. When you're getting into this industry, it is very quick and easy to get a reputation, okay, good or bad. And you're always going to be, somebody's always going to have a different perception of you no matter what. And that's any industry though, okay, just keep that in mind. It's not just coding. But again, the industry is so small, there's like 5 degrees of separation. Sometimes it's 10 degrees of separation. It really all depends on what circles you start running into. I can go to my hospital and somebody at my hospital will either know me or know somebody that works with me, and now it's getting to the point where I am out in public and people recognize me because of the show, or, I know, they know things because of LinkedIn and things like that, just being on LinkedIn, or, me being on YouTube. So there's a lot of things that you have to understand about getting into this industry. And that's one of the biggest things, is that you have to be careful about what you share. And that sharing can mean the difference of, being in workplace drama and not being in workplace drama. There's a lot of things that, my coworkers don't even know about me. For the longest time, a lot of people did not know about my YouTube channel. They didn't. And then all of a sudden everybody's finding out now because one person found out and it spread like wildfire. And which is fine with me. I have nothing to hide, you know. I really have nothing to hide because my intentions behind this channel are, you know, to educate the people. And that's what I do. So, but that's something that you need to know, all right? So keep that in mind when you're getting out there, is that gossip can happen anywhere. It does happen in coding. Clicks do happen in coding. It's just human nature. But how you handle it is a completely different thing. And teaching yourself those skills, those survival skills of how to navigate in the workplace and how to, you know, be a good coworker and, you know, be a good friend and things like that, and stop gossip when you hear it. Because once you start doing that, you start getting into a different kind of culture. And there's some organizations that they do not allow for that. And those are wonderful organizations, but it takes strong leaders to be able to get that way. Because, you know, sometimes for some leaders, they struggle in different areas, but for some leaders that can command a room and then they walk in and they know, and the people feel supported by that leader, there's a difference in how the people act, you know. If not, then of course there's chaos. But we can only manage how we respond to situations. And by responding to a situation, if it means that you have to remove yourself from that situation, or you do have to voice, hey, this person is not here, that's what you have to do. Okay, so that out of the way. The other thing that you need to know about getting into this field is that when it comes to finding your first entry-level position, you're not going to be looking for an entry-level position. What you are going to be looking for is a job that is asking, you know, that they're looking for a medical coder or they're looking for a medical biller, because that's where you've been trained. So if you've been trained in those things, those are the jobs that you want to apply for, even if they're asking for experience. I say this all the time, and I still see people posting. People who watch the channel too still post on LinkedIn, I don't know how to get a job. You apply. You apply, and you have to have a good attitude about it, because it's going to be an uphill battle for you if you have a negative attitude going in. There was somebody else that said that they got their RHIT and they're trying to get out there and get a job, but they're doubtful they're going to get a job this year. Okay, who says? We're in April. Who says that you can't get a job? And you have an RHIT, so that means you have your associate's degree. So the only thing that's stopping you is a negative attitude, right? And so that's the one thing that I will stop immediately in the comments. If I see it, I'll either delete the comment or I'll stop you and say, wait a second. Because I did tell the viewer that if they keep up with that attitude, of that negative attitude of, oh, I can't find a job this year. Yeah, then you're not going to be able to find a job this year. But if you turn it around and you look at my videos where I've given plenty of resume tip advice and all kinds of things about looking for a job and alternative jobs to look for, so that you can get some experience, or applying with a temp agency. And, you know, people are still, oh, no, they want to rail against it. Don't. Why don't you just try it? Because trust me, I've been there, done that. And that was how I got my first job, is going through a temp agency, you know, and it led me here to my forever home. And I've been here ever since. And this year makes 15 years. So I'm just saying, there's a little bit of method to my madness, you know, when it comes to that. So you're going to apply, and you're going to get rejected a lot, okay? For the vast majority of you, you get rejected a lot. But it's not a reason to give up, and it's not a reason to think, oh gosh, did I do the right thing? You know, what did I do? You know, no one wants to hire me. You have to get out of that mindset, and you have to, when you are applying, you have to have been studying the whole time, right? While you're still looking for a job, so that way you can show that you're prepared. Because they will test you. That's something else you have to be aware of. They will test you and give you an assessment every single time you're applying for these coding jobs, because they need to check your competence, that you're competent enough to do the job. If they don't test you, there's a problem. They may not understand what we need to do. So something you got to watch out for. But you will be tested. And it's not just brand new people that are tested. It is also veterans that are tested. I saw somebody that's a veteran on LinkedIn that was complaining, well, I have so many years of experience. I shouldn't have to be tested, you know, these hour-long tests. Well, yes, but somebody who has experience could also only be doing one thing and never have branched out, never tried to code in different settings. And because of that, their knowledge is very limited. So yes, it's only right that the employer will test you and check your competence. You know, that's the thing. And that's just part of the industry, is that you will always be tested. Your knowledge has to grow. You will be a lifelong student as long as you are a medical coder or even a medical biller, because things update every single year. Again, another thing that you need to know. There's always constant changes. Every single year, the guidelines update. And not drastically. It's not like when we went from ICD-9, the coding, to ICD-10. It's not like that where we're getting a brand new code set. Although ICD-11 is far, far down the road, okay? There's a lot of people that talk about that and, oh my gosh, you know, ICD-11. Guys, we're going to be in ICD-10 for a while. There's no date on implementation. There's a lot of things that have to happen in order for us to change over to a new code set. Just like from when we went from ICD-9 to ICD-10, there was a lot of things that had to happen. There was a lot of delays. So there's going to be advance notice that this change is coming, okay? It's not going to be something that's overnight, all right? And just during the pandemic was the one time that they had the code that was, they implemented a new code in the middle of the year, which was unprecedented. But again, we were living in unprecedented times, you know, with that pandemic. And so, you know, it really all depends on, you know, what's happening. So with that said, things change, things update. You have to be flexible enough to say, okay, I'm going to stay on top of my education. I'm going to read the coding guidelines when they come out every new year, the medical coding new year, the guidelines new year in October. October 1 is when those new guidelines go into effect. That's the beginning of our fiscal year. And so that's something that we get a new set of, or an updated set of coding guidelines. And sometimes there's things that are added. Sometimes there's things taken away, which is why I make a big push every October. And I do the guidelines challenge where, you know, you have to read the coding guidelines 4 times in the month of October. And that's just 1 time per week. Some people only make it to 2 times, but that's okay because it's a lot of reading. But even getting through those guidelines even once is a successful thing, because it's a lot of information that we have to know. And the best way to make it easy on yourself to learn is to, you know, condition yourself to study. You know, that's the big part of it. Well, that's at least my favorite part anyway, is the reading, because I enjoy reading. So that's what you have to know. Another thing that you have to know is that the learning part's always going to be a part of it. Medical terminology, anatomy, and pathophysiology. I know I said I'm not talking about technical stuff, but I will say this part because I think it's important. Because when it comes to new people, I see a lot of them trying to skip this part. They ask me if it's important. They ask me if it's necessary. It is absolutely necessary, because the language of these documents is different. It is like learning a new language, because medical terminology is Latin and Greek words, and you have to know and you have to understand. And I always tell people the best way to do that is to learn your prefixes, your suffixes, and your root words. When you learn those, it's going to make piecing the words together a lot easier, so that you'll know, and your vocabulary will expand. Your vocabulary with medical terminology will naturally expand over time, given that you are a constant student, you know, so something to look forward to. But this is a great career field. This is actually Health Information Professionals Week, going on from April the 15th through the 19th, 2024. It is our week to be honored as health information professionals. And one of the greatest things I think about being a coder is that you work with such intelligent people, and you work with the most fascinating people that you will ever meet. The conversations that you will have are just amazing, because I am a person who values intelligence. I love intelligence. I love speaking with smart people. I like to pick their brain and see what they think and how they think. And it makes me a better coder. It makes me a better coder because of it. And I have changed the way that I looked at a lot of things from before, where it was like when I first started in the field, I was like, what do these doctors want to learn from me? Because, I'm just a coder. Well, I know the coding and they need that. And that's what they need from me. And so, it's really awesome, especially when you teach them something and you see the light bulb go on. That's the best feeling in the world. That, and of course, with students, with coding students as well. And when I help them and they have that light bulb moment, that's really awesome. But this is it's an invested career field. You do have to invest in it. You do not have to buy everything that's in front of you, just so you know. Because I'm going to talk about this real quick and then I'm going to wrap it up. You do not have to buy everything in front of you. I tell new people this all the time. Because I see them come into the industry, they get so excited, and then somebody sells them, oh, you got to collect a bunch of credentials so that way you can make the most money out of everybody. No, that's not true, because if you have no experience to back up all those credentials, you're not getting more money than the other people. How do you get more money? You get more money by being smarter. You get more money by being more accurate with your coding. That's how you get more money. You're not going to get more money just racking up credentials and not having any clue what to do with them. I've seen degree holders do this, where they get the degree, they get the RHIT or they get the RHIA, and they have no idea what to do with it. And it's just like, but you spent all that money. Did you not learn anything in the school about what you could do with it? And that's the thing right there. It takes a lot of money to maintain your credentials. So you want to add on credentials that are going to add some value to you once you've had experience. Because nobody that is in their first 2 years should have a string of credentials on their name. Nobody. Why? Because again, if you don't have experience and you're just racking up credentials, all this says is that you can pass a test. And some of these credentials require specific vendor CEUs, continuing education units, in order to maintain them. And you're just spending money with the hopes that you're going to get out there, find a job that's going to make you these high dollars. The high dollars come with time. Those things come with invested time. But you're only going to get out of medical coding, a career medical billing and coding, or a career medical coding, what you put into it. If you are only putting half of the effort, meaning is that you just go in and you're collecting all these credentials, but you're not putting any efforts into learning, that's only halfway. Well, guess what? You do anything halfway, you're going to get halfway results. Rather than if you just take your time with the one credential for the first 2 years and you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can. Then I'm going to decide if there's something else that's not going to double up what I already have and credential wise, and it's going to enhance what I can do. It's going to say that there's more to me than, coding. Just like if you wanted to get into CDI. I tell people who want to get into CDI right off the bat, don't do it. Because if you've never been a coder, it doesn't make sense for you to be a CDI. Now, CDIs, it's not a requirement to be a coder. However, how are you supposed to know only half of what you should know and understand? Because you are the liaison between the coders and the provider. Now, if the coders are trying to tell you something, hey, this is what we need help on with these providers, and you as a CDI think, oh, well, I'm already from the industry and, I'm a foreign trained doctor or I'm a nurse, and that's not important because you don't understand the coding. Well, guess what happens? That provider is going to lose out on their maximum potential as far as being able to tell a full story because you dismissed the coder because you didn't understand. And that's why I say, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more for you to learn the coding, but it's worth it. A CDI that understands coding as well, there's no stopping that person. Trust me, there is no stopping that person. But if you limit your path because you want to play up to your ego, it's going to show. It's going to show. And somebody somewhere along the way is going to be impacted because of it. And it'll probably be the patient with their documentation, because the patient's documentation that can be taken and looked at any time by another provider, right? When they go to another doctor, that doctor needs to know exactly what that other doctor did. And if that CDI is not helping that provider to be very clear, if there's some ambiguity in their note, because they don't understand how to do the coding or what the coding is looking at, well, there you go. It just becomes a big mess. So there's a lot of education. That's the bottom line to this video, is that there's a lot of education in this field. And there's longevity, there's a lot of growth with it, but you can't run from it. You can't run from any challenges that you may face, and you will face them. But if you face them with grace and with courage, oh, trust me, there's lots of rewards for that. I'm just saying. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I hope y'all are all, if you are a medical coder or a medical biller or release of information specialist or anybody in the health information cycle, I hope y'all are all having a great week, because this is our week. So I will close it up. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.